This is going to be a video to help you with section 3.1.7 in your Algebra Connections book. And the title of this section is called Identifying Common Graphing Errors. And the question they ask at the beginning of this section is what is wrong with this graph? So we're going to be trying to find out what's wrong with how we graph this or set up the axes for these graphs. So let's look at the first problem, which is number 60. You're going to be asked to do problems 60, 61, and 62 for this classwork. So if I look at the first problem, it said Miss C's class is studying the dented square shape shown at right, which is right here. This shape is formed by removing a square with a side length 1 from a larger square. Her students decide to let x represent the side length of the larger square. What that means is each of these side lengths are going to be x. And since this is missing that one little piece right there, which is side length 1, that side length is going to be x minus 1. And let y represent the perimeter of the entire shape. So y, which is the perimeter, is going to be equal to this side plus this side plus this side, which is 3x, plus this side, which is x minus 1, plus this, and this, which will equal 3. So your job is to write a rule for the perimeter of that shape. After you do that, they want you to make a table with appropriate x values for that shape and find your y values. And after you do that, they're going to ask you to make a graph from that table. Then they ask, do you think your your points should be connected on your graph? And you're supposed to answer that question. Okay? Then we're going to go on to problem number 61, excuse me. 61 talks about another goofy graph. And Mrs. C's class is studying the tile pattern. Her students decide to represent the pattern with an XY table at right. Now notice that the XY table, the X coordinates might be missing a few pieces. And Miss C wants her class to graph the data on this table, and each of the points needs to be plotted. Okay? So here's what Mrs. C's graphs look like when she looked at what the class started to make. Now each of these graphs have a mistake. So your job is to find out what that mistake is and explain what mistake they made when they set up this graph. Okay? Then the last part is number 62. Problem number 62 comes back to the dented square again. And what it says is this time, instead of finding the perimeter for this dented square, you're going to have to find the area for this dented square. And what they want you to do is write an equation for the area of the dented square if x represents the length of one of the sides, and y represents the area of the square. Then on graph paper, graph the rule you found in the area in part A. Why does a first quadrant graph make sense for this situation? So you have to explain why you're only going to graph in the first quadrant. After you do that, explain to Sheila what the graph of the area looks like. So you're going to kind of describe what that graph looks like for part C. And the last part, use the graph to approximate x when the area of the shape is around 20 square units. So you're going to have to find out when the area, which is equal to y, is equal to 20, they want you to find out what the side length of one of those shapes is.